my name is Kelly Smith. I'm a senior at the university. I'm one of Doc's students. I'm in his 501 class, and I'm here to tell you guys a little bit about Miss Pierce. So Sherin is currently the VP of Yankee Publishing, Inc. and the publisher of the Old Farmers Almanac, which will celebrate 225 years in 2017. Ms. Pierce previously has worked in finance and investment for American Family Publishers of New York City. She was promoted to associate publisher of the Old Farmers Almanac in 1990, but she still looks like she's in her prime. She works closely with production and manufacturing, having a hand in every level of distribution for all the publications in the Almanac brand. I could go on and on about Sherin's accomplishments, and needless to say, she has done a lot for the Almanac brand. Now, I first met Miss Pierce in an interview for the magazine Amplified that you all have gotten a copy of. And over the course of the week, I've gotten the pleasure of getting to know her better. So please help me welcome this remarkable woman, Miss Sherin Pierce.
What's that? Oh, sorry. It's shrieking away. Anyway, I wanted to say hello to everyone and greetings from our home of the Old Farmers Almanac in Dublin, New Hampshire. Population 1,500 on a good day, but, still our beloved home. And thank you very much, Samir, for inviting me to speak about our beloved publication. And I wanted a special shout out to the journalism class, Samir's senior magazine publishing journalism class, and wish you guys all the best, and the future of publishing is safe in your hands. So sit back, let's relax, and let's talk about this wonderful publication that has been with us for almost 225 years. So the title of my presentation is 225 Years of Love, Luck, and Tradition. So what you see on the screen, obviously, is the first edition of the Old Farmers Almanac, our 1793 edition, and a preview of our 2017 cover. We'll talk about the changes. So let's start back to when Robert B. Thomas, our founder, who is mentioned in every issue of the Almanac, was born. He was born in 1766, when this country was still under British rule. And, we all talk about disruption in publishing. How about disruption in, from one country to another? He was born on a farm in Grafton, Massachusetts, one of the original 13 states. And in those days, agriculture was the mainstay of this country. Almost everybody was a farmer. And you had two publications in your home, a Bible and an almanac. So there were several almanacs that were already farmers' almanacs that were in existence at that time. One of them was Poor Richard's Almanac that was published by Benjamin Franklin. A little more on him later in this presentation. And, so Robert B. Thomas grew up in a house which had a modest library, more than just a Bible and an almanac. He's a voracious reader, and he really, for him, his interest in astronomy, math, science, and of course, all things natural was something that really drove him. So as the country had moved towards independence, and I always like to say, I go back to this thing, that it was a ragtag group of farmers, the Minutemen, in Lexington and Concord, that took up arms against the might of the British Empire. It wasn't investment bankers, it wasn't computer programmers. It was a bunch of farmers that stood up to the might of that British Empire. So when anyone says, oh, it's old farmers, yep, it was those farmers that gave us our freedom. So Robert B. Thomas, with the conceit of youth and the audacity of youth, decided that the almanacs that were around at that time, and I should go to Robert B. Thomas's portrait. Let me go to the next one. Is this not working, Samir? Let me go to the next one, please. Sorry, guys. Interval. Is it not?
No, I need to turn it on, then it works.
Oh, okay. To go to the next one, right? Ah, thank you.
It's amazing when you from on off.
Yes. Something that he could have told us, right? So anyway, so Robert B. Thomas, he decided that, he looked at the other almanacs at that time, and he decided, like, they're really quite boring, and I think I can produce a better almanac. As I said, the audacity of youth. And at the age of 26 years old, in the fall of 1792, he published his first almanac. So 1792, George Washington was in his second term of president. The cornerstone of the White House was laid at that time. And the 1793 almanac went on sale. So for all of us in retail right now, you'd be happy to know he printed 3,000 copies. They were 46 pages long. So that was a big print order for those days. We had, legend has it there were no RDAs. There were no distribution fees. There were no placement fees. And there were no returns. So it was a good time to be in retail, right? Okay. So the next year, his print order tripled to 9,000 copies. And the other thing, I'm not sure you can read it, but the cost of the almanac was 6 pence. British currency was still legal tender back in 1792, so it was 6 pence. Today our almanac is $6.99, but for an annual edition. So Robert B. Thomas remained the editor of the Old Farmers Almanac till his death in 1846 at the age of 80 years old, which is a long life. And, he edited this book with the precision and skill that really has passed down to us today. Some of the lore and legend behind the Old Farmers Almanac. What made his almanac, what moved it into supremacy, considering there were other farmers' almanacs in those days? In 1815, Robert B. Thomas was putting the final touches together for his 1816 almanac. And he hadn't finished his predictions for July, so the printer sent a messenger and said, Mr. Thomas, you owe us the predictions for July. What do you want us to put? So he said, put, rain, hail, and snow, July. Printer said, fine. They printed it. He became the laughing stock of the area. Whoa, snow in summer? What happened that November? There was a huge volcanic eruption in the Dutch East Indies. And all the volcanic dust flew up in the air and caused incredible cooling. So this mass of cold, dust came across the Pacific, across the US. And on July 13th in Boston, it snowed. And his reputation was made. He became the preeminent almanac editor and publisher. Thank God for us for that. So, there are many farmers' almanacs. It's a generic term. There's only one Old Farmers Almanac. That's our trademark, the Old Farmers Almanac by Robert B. Thomas. Old was first added to the title in 1832. Strangely, he removed it in 1836. There's no, as we were talking about previously in the letters to the editors, from the editor, in the almanac it's called To Patrons. He doesn't mention why he removed it or why he put it back, but in 1848 it was permanently put back after his death, and from then on it's the Old Farmers Almanac. And finally, this cover, which is probably very familiar to everyone now, because, we think about it every year. What should we change? Nothing. except the years, and everything in between the covers. So in 1851, that's when we went to the traditional engraving. And we added the portraits of Benjamin Franklin as the father of all almanacs, and our founder, Robert B. Thomas, to the cover. We also introduced the Four Seasons to the cover, and this cover has remained, from 1851 to the present in its iconic, highly recognizable form. Oh, I forgot to mention the hull. That was stupid of me. The hull, 1851. People always ask, why is there a hull? Well, it was hung up in the barn. It was hung up in the kitchen, possibly your outhouse. Wherever you wanted to read, get information, the almanac is full of information. And, when people want to quickly refer to it, they will do it. There's something for every day of the year for all the different subjects of interest to you. So that whole was put in there just as a matter. We print 3 million copies of the Almanac, and it costs us over $50,000 to punch the hole, in the almanacs. And one year, our editor, Judd Hale, said something to patrons that, maybe, we can speed up our production process and save some money if we don't have the hole. Oh my God, the pushback. Oh, we'll never do that again. We'll never even talk about it. There's always going to be the hole. Okay, some of the anecdotes around the Almanac, and there's plenty. There's so many stories. And of course, my editors will do a much better job telling you all the stories. I'll just give you two brief stories. One was Abraham Lincoln in 1858. He was a young lawyer, and he was defending a client who had been accused of killing someone with a slingshot at night. Abraham Lincoln used the 1858 Almanac to go to the date his client was accused, and it showed that there was no moonlight that night. It was the dark of the moon. So you couldn't even see 5 feet ahead of you. So the accuser could not have actually seen his client commit that crime. His client was acquitted, and I think Abraham Lincoln went on to do some other great things after. Anyway, and there's a portrait of him, holding the Almanac. We didn't commission that. It was done by someone else, but, And during World War II, that's another anecdote, 2 German spies were arrested in Penn Station, and one of them was found with an almanac in his pocket. So our editor and publisher, Rob Sagendorf, was summoned by the Office of Censorship in Washington and told, you will have to cease publication of the almanac because obviously the Germans are using it for the weather forecast. And he said, well, he thought it would be for the tide tables and, the moon phases, because the Germans had been dropped off in a U-boat in Amagansett, Long Island. So obviously it was the tides. So he made an arrangement with the Office of Censorship and said, look, why don't we just do weather indications, weather proverbs? We don't want to cease publishing the Almanac. It will cut into our record of continuous publications for so many years. And they agreed. So for those years, from 1943 to 1945, we didn't have weather forecasts, just weather indications and proverbs. So we got around that and continued publishing. So what is the Old Farmers Almanac today? How has the brand grown? At the center of it all is our print publications. I don't think anyone will have any cause for concern. We love print. We love print, but, we're also very forward-looking people. Nestled in those hills of New Hampshire, you have to be. You have to know what's going on in the rest of the country. There's a national brand and international brand with our Canadian edition. So the print publications we have are still the core of what we do. But almanac.com, our website, we started that 20 years ago in 1996 when the web was really young. Today we have 12 million page views a month, 5 million users. So people, from an annual publication, people have found a way to interact with us every single day. You can get so much customized information for your zip code on gardening, the weather, sunrise, sunset, all that information on almanac.com. Years ago, we decided that we would have all our Almanac publications available as ebooks as well. So you can buy the Almanac on your Kindle, on your iPad, Kobo, Nook. You can also, we have apps on different subjects like the weather, everyday advice. We have a digital magazine. I know, Samir, we started as a digital monthly magazine. Hopefully someday it'll be in print. But Extra is our digital magazine that you can download every single month. We're available on mobile, podcasts and videos, and surprisingly, our social media has just gone through the roof. And that's where we come in touch with a lot of young people. Fans on Facebook, we're at 1.3 million right now, and growing in leaps and bounds. We're on Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram, about 50,000 each, and we continue to use that. It's a great way to bring this brand and all that it stands for to, to folks all around the world, around the U.S. and around Canada. So we, it's the multiple channels of media, and we really work it for different reasons. Finally, we go to, all our print publications, all available for the year 2017. One of the things, the Almanac in and of itself is a 3 million print order, and the Almanac for Kids is one of our newer publications. It is 192 pages of full color, and it comes out every 2 years. The information is not, it's not, for just for the year. It's timeless information. It's information on nature, on science, on astronomy, the heavens, gardening, food, sports. It's packed, and we say it's for kids from 8 to 80 years old. People just love the information, and in certain curriculums around the country, reading an almanac and learning to use an almanac is part of the curriculum in the middle school. So we thought, well, what better way to keep, to connect with young people and to have the Almanac for Kids so they grow up understanding and knowing the almanac. So the Almanac for Kids has been around for 12 years. It's still a baby, but it will have its own life. All the subjects of interest: gardening, food, weather, country, astronomy, and the moon calendars. Very popular. Our gardening calendar is 40 years old now, so we say it's the oldest continuously published calendar in North America. We've completely co-opted that phrase. And then we have B-size products, for gardening, the Garden Guide, which is an annual publication, Bookazines, Eats, the Reader Recipes Cookbook this year, again curated, call out on social media. Readers, we're going to celebrate 225 years. Send us your best recipes. And boy, did they. We got, recipe after, there were a lot, and some weren't that great, but anyway. You get the best of the best, you test them, curate them, and there they are. So these are all the products which will go on sale in 2017 and all in print. So what is this audience? How many people do we reach? And I know it's 50 million people on an annual basis, and, through all the products. And, the Old Farmers Almanac in the almanac genre is still the #1 best-selling almanac after 225 years. So that's something we want to keep going. We don't want to lose that. And I thought what might be interesting is to look at what is an almanac. People always ask us, what is an almanac? It's all about weather forecasts. And no, it's not just about weather forecasts. At the essence, the almanac is a calendar of the heavens. And what really is the heart of the almanac is your left and right-hand calendar pages. On the left-hand calendar pages, you have the sky watch about your astronomy, about the stars, about the planets, the moon phases, sunrise, sunsets. And in the right-hand calendar pages, it's something for every single day of the year, something that's important, an anniversary, an occasion. Everything is listed for the entire month. And then you have your tide tables, and you have a doggerel, a poem about what the weather forecast is going to be in poetry form. And then the farmer's calendar, which is musings on country life, farm life and country life. And that is the essence of the almanac. So you have astronomy, the seasons, which are really important. We have you have your solstices and the equinoxes. That ties into the weather, which influences gardening and farming, which, on the farms you have husbandry and animal care, nature, fishing and wildlife. We have recipes. And food is so important. You're growing it on the farm, you're growing it in your garden, you need recipes. Health and home remedies. People always love those traditional bits of advice, because they work. So many things, they sound hokey sometimes, but a lot of them are passed down generation to generation because they work. We cover histories and anniversaries, anything that happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago, something momentous. Astrology, the best days. It's all about the best days to plant, the best days, to wean, and it's, everything that you need in your life, the best days to do things. And then future trends. The almanac is very forward-looking, even though it's so steeped in tradition, and it's something we have to, we pay extreme attention to. We're also very forward-looking. It's our forecasts, it's the trends, looking at what's going to happen in gardening for the next year, in food, home, you know, everything about life. It looks forward. And who are these almanac readers? They're very curious, the information seekers, and we call them KIAs, know-it-alls. They love humor. Everything you do you have to have a sense of humor about what you do. You can't, you know, if people laugh, I think it takes a lot of smartness to make people laugh. I mean, stupid people don't make you laugh. But, so you have to, everything you do, you need to have a sense of humor. Their experience do-it-yourselfers. You know, they sound like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, really honest, trustworthy, friendly, reliable, family-oriented, dependable, compassionate people. You know, that at its core are the almanac readers. Where are they from? South has 34% of our readership. So many of the traditional Southern values are what we represent in the almanac. The Midwest is 23%. The Northeast is 21%. And the West is 15%. So we have 3 editions that mirror this geographic split. We have a Southern edition for the 14 Southern states, a Western edition for the 13 Western states, and then the National edition, and a Canadian edition. Where do they live? Urban and suburban, 41% right now, exurban small towns, and rural, as you can see the percentages there. Male-female split, 67 to 33. Right now, 67 female to 33 male.
So more females farming now than?
Well, females fill out the surveys. They probably, yes, they do. Yeah, and gardening, exactly. But why has this brand lasted so long? It is an iconic, instantly recognizable by its yellow cover and the hole in the corner. It's, you know, whenever you travel a country, people, you know, you say you work for the Old Farmers Almanac, and they're like, I love the almanac. I remember I saw it in my grandfather's home, or my uncle's farm. It has been passed down from generation to generation. You know, there's a great reservoir of affection for this publication that has really been part of the fabric of our country for 225 years. You know, it is accurate and fair. It provides a reassuring sense of permanence and stability every fall. Just like the first frost, this little yellow book will appear on your newsstands and at retail. Every single year we've shown up for the last 224 years, and we plan to keep doing that. We're not stopping anytime soon. It projects an optimistic attitude, a can-do. We give you the information. We tell you how you can do certain things. You know, we take care of the essence, the most essential things in your life. We're respectful of our readers and our users. We don't talk down to people. You know, we respect who they are, what they come to us for, and, you know, it's something that we're very careful about. The content, non-controversial. We don't cover politics. We don't cover anything of, you know, current day stuff. What we do is we tell you about nature. We tell you the things that can help you live a better life and give you understanding. We tell you about, you know, the stars, the sun, and the moon, tide tables, tell you funny stories. We give you articles on how to appear to know more than you actually do. You know, you have to, tongue-in-cheek stories and, you know, and advice. We're self-deprecating. You know, we take the business of the almanac in print, online, social media, we take it very seriously. We just don't take ourselves seriously. Because, you know, again, it goes back to humor and having fun and having a passion for what you're doing. It's a cool retro publication, you know, and now you see so many things in design going back to a retro thing. Someone said to me, the folks who illustrated the cover for 2017, he said, you know, you're a hip traditional brand. So, oh, cool. So that's what it is. And again, we sell millions and millions of almanacs year after year, just based on the strength of our content and almanac products. So anyway, I'm going to close now with, you know, first of all, saying we're celebrating an anniversary, but really it's a celebration for all of us who are involved, you know, in content creation and print. So it's something I hope that everyone will celebrate. You know, this publication has lived through a tumultuous history in this country. It's funny when you look at the almanacs that were out during the Civil War, very little mention is made. They were very careful about, you know, well, you still have to do your farming and stuff, so let's get to work here. It's really lived through a lot, and it has thrived, and, you know, it has such a special place in people's hearts. As a publishing company, we are committed to print. You know, we're getting ready to go and jam the printer with all the paper and products that we need to get done in a very short period of time and get out there. We are committed to that. We're committed to promoting all the Almanac products, you know, at retail. You know, the publicity we generate every year, very few publications get that level of, you know, publicity year after year after year. I mean, yeah, some of them, they want to denigrate us. Some of them want to praise us. We'll take it all, you know. We'll answer. If we're wrong, we'll say we're sorry. And when we're right, that's great. So I think, you know, we have our displays, the largest floor display program. We are really committed to doing this. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone who supports the Old Farmers Almanac, you know, all the various ways, you know, the printers, the distributors, wholesalers, you know, our consultants, everyone who has a hand in keeping this wonderful publication and all its other publications going. Just as an aside, I think they said 26% was the sell-through on the newsstand. So in the 2015 edition, we sold 39.83. So I'm hoping we can hit 40 for the anniversary, you guys. You know, we got to do that. So, you know, we've used all the media available to us today, online, social media. We've done all that to keep promoting, keep the name of the Old Farmers Almanac, you know, front and center. And I want to close with the words that Robert B. Thomas left us with. In 1829, he said, "We must strive always to be useful with a pleasant degree of humor." I think that's a great thing for all of us. You know, all these years, anytime we think, are we deviating from that, we can go back to his words and say, yep, we always want to provide something that's useful with a pleasant degree of humor. I just wanted to say happy 225th anniversary, Mr. Thomas, to your wonderful Old Farmers Almanac. Thank you. Thank you, Samir.
Are you going to do questions?
Yeah, one question.
Yes? Uh-oh.
Ms. Pierce, I'm Billy Morris from Augusta, Georgia.
How are you,
I feel that I can ask you any questions since my Augusta Chronicle is 1785.
Oh!
It's 8 years older than...
Is it a newspaper?
That's a newspaper.
Oh, okay. Phew.
But I think that what a remarkable presentation you made and what a wonderful book you have.
Thank you.
I'm curious about, over time, at the time this was started,
Yes.
we probably had 80 to 85% of the Americans were farming
Yes.
or were doing agriculture.
Yes.
Today, that number's 2%.
Yes.
It's remarkable to me that with 2% of the people still involved primarily in agriculture in our country, that 2% feeds all the rest of us.
Yes.
It's remarkable to me that you have been able to maintain this wonderful publication for that period of time. My question is, a comment on that, and second, what's happened to your circulation over time? I know you print 3 million copies now, which is remarkable.
Yes.
Just comment on that, if you would.
I will. And I think one of the reasons why, I mean, the Almanac, we've had to evolve and change as the times, you know, as you alluded to farming. We've given a lot of information to people on gardening. So it's, you know, the garden is like a small farm. And so, you know, we've had to evolve, and people, you know, for all the areas of interest that people are looking for. You know, I mean, in the old days, it was, you know, you give information on the weather, you know, on farm, on gardening, on recipes and food. You try to look at, you know, what people want. So you come from that tradition of farming, but you try to look at how people, you know, how they're living today. You know, how can we make their lives easier. That's one of the things that people have. They have incredible trust in the information in the Almanac. We take that very seriously. There is so much information. We, curate tons of information. Sure, you can get all this information online, but nobody puts it together like we do and check, obsessive checking, honestly. So that's what we do. I mean, we understand that people have different needs. They live differently. So we have to cater to that. That's number one.
And the circulation?
The circulation, yes, 3 million. What we've done is we haven't just stuck to the newsstand. We have a bookstore edition that is sold exclusively as an ISBN edition. We have direct distribution to the hardware stores. And, wherever a magazine or book is sold, you'll find the Old Farmers Almanac. It's a huge distribution, different price points. We have a hardcover edition that's 72,000 copies that goes out every year. It's your continuity program. We reprint the 100. So, for instance, this year, the 2016 hardcover edition, we reprinted the 1816, 1916, and the 2016. So you get 200 years of almanac publishing. So we have different ways of using this almanac. So from price points from $6.99 to $15.95, and so that, and having, sort of amortized our risk across so many different channels of distribution. We are retail driven. I mean, we encourage people to go to the bookstores and to the supermarkets and to Walmart, where Lowe's, right, Ingrid? Lowe's best-selling title. And, Walmart, we sell a lot of, over 100,000 copies. This is an annual product. And so we have looked, and we sell online, we sell through Amazon, we sell at retail. Anywhere you can buy a book or magazine, you'll find an Old Farmers Almanac product. So that's what we've had to do. We've had to adapt, and every single year you adapt. You can't live on your laurels. You just can't. You can't say, well, I'm this old. Nobody cares. It's like, thank you. Bye. Thank you, Samir.